right, thanks for being here, guys. I've had so much fun today. I came in from New York, came in from Nashville, so yeah, we came in pretty far, but it's been really fun. My name is Emma Zier. I'm the founder and host of Ghosted, a community and platform centered around grief, loss, and conversations we often avoid. It's a podcast where I interview people and they talk about grief, heartbreak, identity, and all the ways we get ghosted by people, by the systems we live in, sometimes even by ourselves. There should be a bookmark with a QR code on the back if you'd like to learn more. If not, I will come and find you after and give you one. But my dad died when I was 9, and for a long time I felt incredibly alone. No one around you really understands that when you're 9, and so that's really where Ghosted was born, on the belief that there's something deeply healing about seeing yourself reflected in someone else's stories. I also believe having hard conversations and letting ourselves be seen in others makes us kinder, more empathetic, more connected, which is much like reading books, which is why I'm so excited to be here today with Colleen. Colleen Conklin wrote Ever Since New York, and at its core, it's a love story, but it's not a simple one. It's about childhood friends turned lovers, about intimacy that's built over time, about what it looks like to grow up alongside someone while carrying very real, very heavy things. The novel doesn't stray away from difficult topics, from eating disorders, sexual trauma, OCD, mental health, but what makes it so powerful is the way that these themes are held within a relationship. It's about two people learning how to show up for one another, how to be honest about their pain, and how to slowly learn to see and love themselves through each other. Okay, now for Colleen's introduction. A therapist by day, a writer by night, two roles that feel deeply intertwined in the way that you show up in the world, but also on the page for your readers. I too read this book and loved it. Her own experiences navigating mental health are what first drew you to becoming a therapist, and those same experiences inform writing and the level of care and honesty, which if you've read this book or anything she's done, feels incredibly raw and just human. Born and raised in Long Island and is currently based in Nashville, she brings East Coast edge and Southern softness into everything she creates. She's currently in a season of huge personal change, which we'll get into. Recently divorced, newly out as lesbian, and actively writing her new book, which makes this moment in her life and creative career especially powerful. There's a real sense that she's living the same honesty and self-exploration that she encourages in her clients and her readers. You bring joy, curiosity. I've had the last hour to get to know you, and I am excited to talk about your book and also how you're going to navigate this next chapter. Yay! Yeah. Oh my god, of course. I love to yap and don't really shut the hell up. So we're kind of just going to go with questions, but if anyone has any questions, thoughts, guys, jump in. It's free, it's fun. You can interrupt me at any point. All right, shall we get into it?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, unless anyone has initial thoughts or questions, please. No? Okay. All right. Ever Since New York centers on two people who grow up together and then fall in love later in life. What drew you to the idea of writing a love story rooted in such deep shared history?
Yeah. So I think I just really love seeing the beauty of, especially when you know each other from, for here in the line, the main characters, and Ever Since New York, they've known each other since they were born, and of course you can build emotional intimacy and vulnerability with anyone you meet, but it's just very different when it's from these early relationships, friendships, and also how for them, even though everyone in their lives knew that they were in love, they had no idea. And I think while I've never been in a relationship with someone who was a childhood friend, just those deep bonds that I've had with people who have known me since I was that young, like my childhood best friend who is still my very best friend in the world, or even my college friends who I consider family and are my best friends in the world, and how seeing each other through different chapters of your life is really powerful. And I think that's been, especially in this chapter of change for me, has been really big. The people who have known me through it all, and even when things have been unexpected, just them knowing, oh, I know who you are at your core, and just knowing how deeply that is known. And I think it was just really beautiful for them to have this love that just evolved from that friendship to them being in a relationship, and also how, of course, they had to get to know each other as partners, but it was like they skipped that initial awkward piece. They just fit into each other's families, and I just thought, yeah, being able to share.
No, I loved it. It was so beautiful. I'm like, is anyone from my childhood? Will I come back into my life? No, it was wonderful. And like, yeah, I think that deep-rooted history is just something so special. What's been the most rewarding part of releasing a debut novel, and what has been the most challenging?
Yeah, I think as far as what's most rewarding has been hearing readers share how they felt seen in this book and how there are just many different themes that people can relate to. Of course, like this takes place in the music industry with a pop star and Karen is her guitarist, and so people may not see themselves in that part and people may not be working in the music industry, but with the mental health themes and those pieces, I think that's been really big, especially as far as many readers have shared that this was the first time that they felt truly seen in that way, and especially, of course, I think someone who's not a therapist and someone who doesn't have lived experience of particular mental health challenges, I think they can still write a beautiful story, but for me, even though this story isn't about me, being able to pull from those experiences was really therapeutic, and being able to rewrite pieces that are endings I wish I would have had in those moments, and just felt, especially, for example, I struggled with eating disorder for about 10, 11 years of my life from when I was super young, and feel like often representation in the media is very dramatized. Most of us probably know those stereotypes, and my story was not a stereotype, and I think being able to show, also doing it in a way that I think is either showing these stereotypes or showing it in a way that's triggering just to be triggering. And while there are definitely details in Ever Since New York about Emmeline's struggle, I feel like I was able to do it in a way that wasn't just, oh, I'm saying these things for the sake of drama, just showing that reality, and also showing the reality that it's not all bad, that you can be living your dreams and also having your darkest moments, because that's been a lot of what has shown up in my life, and just a number of readers said, like, this is the first time I've felt seen in this way, and that's just really powerful for me, because I've loved when I read books, and that's something that I'm able to see. So that's been very rewarding. And then challenging, I think, definitely when people don't connect with the story and when it wasn't something they enjoyed. And of course, like, there are books that are amazing books that I haven't enjoyed, and that's just part of, not every book is for everyone. But as someone who is very sensitive to rejection, and when it's something where, even though it's not my story, so much of me is in it, it's really hard. Like, for example, times where people were like, oh, this isn't realistic, or this doesn't seem like this, and I'm like, well, even though that wasn't the same exact experience, that is very close, or even there are some scenes that are kind of pulled out of my life and changed slightly, and I'm like, well, that actually did happen to me, and that was my reality, and so it's just really hard, and I think it all comes with the territory, and it's a process of learning to be less sensitive to that rejection, but I think that's been the biggest piece of it.
I love that answer, and I appreciate your honesty so much. I think what makes beautiful art, which is what reading and books are, is putting yourself in that story, and mental health struggles in all forms are really difficult for people. I mean, it's like a form of grief in and of itself, and so even if one person can relate to that, that is so beautiful, and I think you have, like, you should, and keep going, because it was an amazing book, and also you're talking about hard shit in a way that doesn't feel so scary. And I just appreciate, yeah, no, and that even that answer, like, I appreciate you putting yourself in, like, being so vulnerable, because, like, putting yourself out there is scary. Yeah. I loved it, and I think we'll get more into it, but even you being a therapist and being able to draw from that, how does that impact your writing?
Yeah, so I think it has given me this perspective where I'm able to combine this clinical expertise that I learned through all of my years in school, and then all of my years of seeing clients. I've been seeing clients for 5.5 years at this point, and just being able to learn from my clients and just be able to pull, because of course it's important to have the textbook knowledge to also back up the lived experience, because my story isn't everyone's story, even with me sharing these struggles that are portrayed in the book. And I think it's also helped me portray them in a way that's responsible and accurate and just sharing the realities here. And also that I think I have the deeper level of awareness around kind of the dramatization and the triggering pieces and knowing, okay, this is how this can show up for people. This is how they might respond, and being able to share it in that way. And I think it's also like through my experience as a therapist, of course, every therapist practices differently. Not everyone is going to be someone who self-discloses struggles to clients, and of course, it's always done in a way that's responsible, and I'm never going to share that if that's something that a client doesn't want to hear. And also, some clients don't want to know anything about their therapist, but most clients I've worked with, especially because I work with a lot of people who struggle with eating disorders and trauma, which is a big part of my story. A lot of times, clients have shared that seeing that I've gotten more or less to the other side of that has helped them feel seen, and I think that's something with my work that I hope to do as a writer, and also to share in the story, but also just being able to show, oh, you can come out on the other side and you can have the darkest moments of your life inspire something really beautiful, and it's just very therapeutic to put out there.
I couldn't relate more. One, I love when my therapist tells me shit, so I'm like, yeah. What's your shit going on? That's not me. But I think that to that point of like, I think sometimes the worst thing in life makes some of the most beautiful things, and that's if you can make tragedy, heartbreak, everything into something beautiful, like how special, and we're all gonna go through shit. So yeah. All right, more fun, but at the start of the book, you give a playlist to your readers. Where did this inspiration come from? How did you pick the songs? What a fun way to start off the book.
Yeah, so I'm sure based on me writing a book set in the music industry, it's no surprise that I'm a huge music fan myself, and also I'm a huge reader myself, particularly romance, and I've seen a number of authors do that, and I think it's something that's helped me feel more immersed in the story. And also, I'm someone who loves listening to music while I'm writing. I know some people are like, no, I need silence, or oh, I just need instrumental, but for me, being able to have a vibe of music and seeing how that can inspire things was big, and I wanted to be able to give that deeper level of experience to readers. And for some chapters, it's, oh, this song really fully encapsulates that chapter, or sometimes it's more of a vibe. Like, for example, the song for the first chapter is Greedy by Tate McRae, and the first chapter like starts in a party scene, and so it's very much giving that energy. And also there are parts of it that speak to like cloud chasing and things like that, which is also in that song. But so things like that, and also some of it is just like some of my favorite songs that weave their way in there, and it's also just been really cool. Like sometimes it's been someone being like, oh, I had no idea what that song was, and now I love it, or oh my god, I was thinking of that song when I was reading the chapter. So that's just been, it's been really fun.
I love that. It's just like a fun twist, you know? We talked about this a little bit, but obviously there's a lot of heavy themes. What was your thought process in like putting those themes, like OCD, for anyone who hasn't read it, OCD, eating disorder, sexual trauma, like really heavy things, really crazy things, right? But like how do you put that in a novel that feels safe for readers and still like a love story? How long did that take you? What was that process like? Just walk us through that a little.
Yeah, so I think a big thing with that was wanting to show the realities of life, that sure, there are really beautiful moments and love can be really beautiful, and also life is really fucking harder for some of us than others. And being able, of course, it's nice to have an escape in books and being able to have like, oh, this is this like rainbow sunshine moment, and also like life is far from perfect. And also in particular, I feel like those are struggles that I personally haven't seen often portrayed, and especially not the combination. And so being able to share that, and of course, like you said, it is hard to do it in a way that is responsible for readers and feel safe. And so I, for example, like I have a list of like content warnings in the front of the book of here are things that are portrayed here, and being able to have that so that people know going into the book what they can expect there. And it was definitely really interesting, especially with pulling from my own experiences, to try to figure out what's the level of detail to share here. How can I make sure I'm framing this in a way that's not, oh, I'm just throwing this in to throw it in, or just like making mental health a trope there. And it was also a really emotional experience writing it, especially with each draft as I was doing the process with my editor, times where she was saying, oh, I think this scene needs to be even rawer, heavier, and being like, so many times I've told people with particular scenes, I write at coffee shops a lot, and I would just be like, they're crying, people are probably thinking what is wrong with this girl, but I would just be like, because it's so heavy, even the parts that weren't inspired by my life, and how, at least for me, characters kind of become like my babies, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to see them hurt, and also that is the reality of life. And I think also being able to show the realities of having a partner struggling with their mental health too, and when you're also struggling yourself, and having it be that also you can grow together, because I think there's often this misconception that you have to be healed to find love. You have to love yourself to love someone else, and of course you need to do enough of your own work and own healing to be able to be a healthy partner. And I personally have found it really beautiful to be able to experience healing while growing with someone, and I just think that's something, like being able to show that piece of it. For example, my lovely girlfriend Emma is here.
Hi,
and
Emma.
especially through this really challenging season, and that we have some shared struggles, just being able to support each other and know that like we're both doing our own work, and that we're also like going through these experiences and working and learning together. And I think that's just something that I wanted to be able to like cut and want to continue in all of my books to show that.
I love it. Do you want to be my therapist? Like, this is perfect. A lot of people obviously see themselves in these characters. What do you hope readers feel or take away from this? Not to put your therapist hat on, but a little bit.
Yeah, so I think definitely taking away the piece of, oh, I can have the light coincide with the dark. It doesn't have to be that life is all one way or another. Like, this is the best part of my life, this is the worst part of my life, and it's only, oh, I'm at rock bottom, or I'm living my dreams. And I think that's really represented with Emmeline and Kieran's struggles. And I think, even though I wrote this book before my current season of life, I think that's been a big thing that I've told people. Like, this is both the hardest and most chaotic time of my life, and also the happiest. And I think that there's this concept called dialectics, and something I learned in my own therapy journey, and it's this idea that two opposing truths can coexist at once, that it doesn't have to be but it can be and just showing that it can be both. And I think that's something that in so many avenues of life we can all benefit from. I think there's a lot of times where nuance is so overlooked, and I think that can be the case in reading too. So I think that piece, and I think just being able to take away that everyone struggles to varying degrees, and being able to see, let's say for someone who is struggling with OCD, being able to see that in a character and being able to know, oh, but they are also having these really great moments, and they're also able to find true love and find true support, and knowing that even though it's really scary and there are always going to be people who aren't supportive, there are people who are going to love and support you despite that. And so just really that light and dark piece is
I love it. Okay, not to get too much into your personal life, but you talked a little bit about it, and I said at the beginning, you've been very open on social media and your platform, and even in your writing and all the things you're doing about coming out. Sort of like walk us through what surprised you most, what it's been like. Obviously, Emma is here, and we heard about that wonderful relationship, but how has this affected your art and your writing?
Yeah, so it's been very challenging, especially because it's very new. My life kind of went on fire and got turned upside down in November, and it's been a journey. And I think also so much of this I figured out about myself while very quickly, and it all went down very quickly. And a big piece too, so my partner is a touring audio engineer, and that was me being immersed in that world was a big inspiration for Ever Since New York and for the rest of the series. And there were so many moments where I was like, especially while in the process of writing the second book, I was like, I just want to throw this out. I don't ever want to write a book related to the music industry. I feel like that's like, I'm like, oh, am I losing my like, which feels like a stupid thing to care about, but like, am I losing my credibility because I'm not having this thing anymore? Or, oh, because of people who have been, you know, who have different like preconceived notions as a result of different pieces of how the story has unfolded, are they going to now like damage my reputation? And things like that has been really challenging. And also just that those were like challenges that I faced that are completely unrelated to like the sexuality piece of it all, were inspiration for the book, because it does like with Ever Since New York, I wanted to show this industry in a way that's not dramatized or demonized, but also like a lot of the process of writing was things that I learned from my former partner, and being like also even just, for example, while writing the second book, like I have several like docs that he made of information and like knowledge and things like that, which I'm really grateful I have. And I'm so grateful, like I think it's something where I don't regret that season of my life. There's, I think a lot of times when relationships end, it feels like this all or nothing of like, oh, everything was so bad and I have to regret that whole thing and be like, I wish that never would have happened. And I think there was so much I learned about myself. Like I'm 29 now, and I was 21 when that relationship started. And so just a very different person, and so much I learned about myself, and so many good memories I do have, and so many things I took away, and also wouldn't have had this appreciation for this wonderful industry that I love. Like I also work with a ton of clients who are in the music industry, and wouldn't have had that knowledge myself without that. And I think it's just, it's really challenging, and especially as someone, I've been a like social media presence since 2016, so I was 19, and so much of my life has been online. And I think it's been beautiful, people seeing so many chapters of my life, but especially when this was all going down and was going down behind closed doors, when, for example, like my wedding was very public and was a big part of my content, and that was a huge thing. And also that people knew that he's a touring audio engineer and how things go with that, that I kind of felt like I know I don't owe anyone anything, but I was in a position of, I feel like I can't just go about posting things and my like, oh, my life is the way it is, when everything was on fire and I was just in such a dark place. And I was like, why am I going to be posting about my book when like I'm like not even sure what's happening moment to moment? And so it was really hard, especially because it was all new. I'm like, should I even put this out there? And some people are like, oh, are you going to be putting, like, why would you put your business on the internet? And for me, it was, people have been here for so many chapters, and also wanted the opportunity, just like my books, and also just like the reasons why I started my social media in the first place, for people to be able to be seen, and wanted to be able to have, because I know I'm not the only one who has had this experience, and just being able to show that. And I think that's also been something I've already seen of people commenting, or even not people commenting, but DMing me, of being like, hey, I've also been in a relationship with a man for this many years, or been married and just realized I'm a lesbian and I don't know what to do with it. What are you doing? How are you doing? Or people who have said, oh, like, this was my story and I'm on the other side now and it's going to be okay. Like, you are, like, you're doing the best thing for yourself here. And it's just something that, yeah, it's messy. And especially because for me, I literally didn't realize I wasn't attracted to men until middle of November. And it was like, I fought it for so long when people were like, oh, I think you might be, like, this might be that you're coming to terms with not being attracted to men. I was like, no, that's not it, not at all. And then suddenly I realized, I was like, no one is scrolling Reddit at 3 a.m. looking for every reason to convince themselves that they're, like, not a lesbian. And so when it clicked, and I was like, oh. And it was really hard because I knew that it's not black and white. I knew this was going to have a lot of hurt for people, and I knew this was not going to be a cut and dry situation. And that's also been hard with sharing it online, because I, like, I know my story and my way of experiencing this big change is different than other people, including my former partner, and want to be able to share my story in a way that isn't like censoring myself or feeling like I have to lie, but also that there are parts of it that I'm going to keep private and want to be able to like hold me sharing my story in this process while also respecting privacy. And some people have said, oh, why would you share it if you're saying I need to respect your privacy and don't ask questions? I'm like, there's a difference between me sharing a life update and me going and airing all of the details of a situation that's complicated for so many reasons. But it has been really rewarding, and including some people who follow me have followed me since I started the page and I was still living in New York, and I was just starting eating disorder recovery, and I was a professional dancer and had a very different life. And people who have been with me through all these chapters, it's just been really, really beautiful to have that support, and people also being able to see how happy I am now. And obviously, to be clear, like, there were plenty of times while I was in the other season of my life that I was happy. It wasn't like, oh, I was totally, like, I was just devastated all the time. Like, I thought I thought in all reality that, like, I wasn't loved. That was my reality. And then I suddenly realized, oh, what I thought that was something different. And it's been really interesting navigating the nuance. And luckily, I have a lot of people who have been extremely supportive, but it is really hard to navigate the people who are making judgments or are saying out-of-pocket things like, oh, can't you think of how that, as a therapist, can't you think of how that would, like, affect your partner and whatever? And I'm like, yeah, I'm aware of that, but also I'm not going to live my life as a lie. And yeah, it's been interesting, and I've kind of been figuring out as I go, but it's been really freeing, and I feel like I am having the dialectic of the hardest time in my life and also the happiest. And I just love that people are seeing that, and especially the people, like, kind of going back to the first question of, like, this vulnerability and intimacy that comes from knowing someone for your whole life. One of my closest friends from college, when I made this realization and all this, he said to me, he's like, this is the most secure I've ever seen you be in yourself, and this is the happiest I've seen you. And that's someone who knew me when I was 18. I was a completely different person, and being able to see that has just been really beautiful. And I think that's the parts that, like, amidst all the chaos, like, I don't regret a single moment of that. Of course, it's been extremely painful and challenging, but also, it's also worth it, and I already see that. And so,
thank you, first of all. And also, like, fuck yeah, you're living your true self. Who cares? Like, I don't know. The internet can be a beautiful place, but it can also be fucked up at times. And the fact that you're living your life as you should is what you should be doing. And you don't need me to say it, but, like, fuck yeah, November is gonna change your life for the better. And a lot of what you're talking about is grief in so many ways, right? Like, coming to terms with who you are. Divorce is a grief and the life that you thought you were gonna live. And so I just appreciate you speaking so honestly about all of this. And I mean, I feel like you've lived so many lives, and it's so cool. And I feel lucky to know your story. Yeah, no, this was wonderful. I'm not even gonna try to say anything else because you did it well. I thought we could get into, like, some fun rapid fire questions, and then I would love if anyone wants to share thoughts, questions, anything. I have an inability to be brief, so I will try to do rapid fire, but, like, we might end up yapping.
Two yappers, it's just the energy.
Okay. Meanwhile, like, everything you were saying, I was, like, trying so hard not to be like, the Reddit thread killed me. Like, you'd be like, so you shouldn't be. I'm like, I'm Googling, like, why do I like them? You know what I mean? So.
No, it's a time until
I'm like, how do I stop liking that?
Well, yeah, that's like one of my best friends. She said, she's like, yeah, unfortunately I am attracted to men.
No, it's unfortunately. Like, in 2026. Anyways. All right, some rapid fire questions. Favorite book?
Actually, funnily enough, an author who you interviewed earlier, Alyssa, Call It What You Want. That was I read the entirety of it on, actually funny now to think about it, I was on the way to my bachelorette trip. So that's hilarious thinking of that now. But
it's also not
anyway.
like a situationship where like he just doesn't want her.
Yeah, and it's such a really beautiful story, I think, showing kind of where it wasn't like a true romance in the sense of happily ever after, but also happily ever after in the sense of finding yourself, and that it doesn't have to be you ending up with this person that you wanted to be for it to be just that, like, that you can learn so much. And I think that also, like, even just thinking about it now, I definitely need to do a reread, but thinking about, like I said before, the piece of not regretting those 7 years of my life, and that you can learn so much even if that's not how you end, if it's not the ending you thought you wanted or had. And I just, like, when I read that book, I immediately looked her up on social media and was like, oh my god, like, I love you. And now it's been really cool that, like, now I'm part of a writing community she started, and
Community special.
so love it.
I love it. Yeah, she's here if anyone's interested in meeting her. She's very sweet. Trope you'll never write.
Yeah, this one, when I was like, I'm not going to rehearse these questions, but I need to think about this. And I was like, what is it that I'm not going to write? Billionaire. There are a number of reasons for it. Of course, there's the capitalistic patriarchy of it all.
We're aligned.
And also just the piece that, of course, I don't think there's anything wrong with an author writing things that they don't feel they can see themselves in, or that doesn't, like, I don't think everything has to be relatable, but for me and my stories, even if someone's not able to see themselves in all the parts, or honestly, even if the tropes themselves, like, there's no, like, true, like, relatable piece in the sense of, oh, this happened to me, still being able to see themes-wise where that is. And, like, I'm very much not a billionaire, very much have not been in a relationship with one, probably for the best, aside from that, you know, it would be nice to have that money, but just having that, like, where I feel like I want stories to be relatable.
I feel like I know the answer because you said it. Is your favorite place to write a coffee shop?
It is.
You learned that. Okay. That was rapid fire. Reading hot take.
Ooh. This is a good one. I feel like this shouldn't be a hot take, and I feel like, based on conversations had earlier, that I feel like it's very dichotomous. Reading is political. That's a big thing that I feel like, especially in today's day and age, is very big. And I understand that some people want to read as an escape, and also just written word in itself is very political, and with book bans and all of that, that I think it's something where there can be both there. And so I personally think that shouldn't be controversial, but I know it is, so I guess it is a hot take.
That's not controversial to me. Also, like I said, reading makes you kinder, more empathetic.
Yes.
Hopefully you see yourself in someone else's story that's not your own. I could not agree more. Yeah, I like on Ghosted once a week, I do like a grief between the lines, and like basically this is like the point of it. Like grief is in it, policies and everything. Like shit sucks. Let's just talk about it, you know?
Yeah.
And we're just reading. Best advice you've gotten about writing.
Ooh, and this is one that I feel like I finally have embraced with this second book, is let a first draft be a shitty first draft. And as someone who has always been a perfectionist since as long as I can remember, and this was part of why I think Ever Since New York took me, like, so much of it, especially like the first half of the book, took me so long to write. I was like, this needs to be perfect on the first go. This needs to be no editing, no this. And I learned through the editing process of Ever Since New York how much changes even when you feel like you've thought through everything so well. And also how if you don't allow it to be shitty, you're just never going to finish it. That was a big part with finishing this first draft of the second book. Of course, there were other factors that got involved, but a big thing was I was just not letting myself let it suck. And know my editor, who I've seen, her name's Sabrina, she edited Ever Since New York, and now this past Monday gave her the first draft of Temporary Fix.
Yay,
and so
congrats.
starting the editing process, like, I know how much Ever Since New York changed. Like, the bones of the story are the same, but it changed so much in the process, and I thought I was going to hate editing. I actually love it. That it's just like getting to make the story better, and you need to get the words on a page or the thing is not going to exist.
Love it. Okay. Favorite cherry themed item? Cherry's a part of the brand.
Yeah, probably these earrings that I got like a few weeks. They're little cherry disco ball earrings. I got them for $5 at Walmart, which was in wild find, and now they're like my favorite thing that I own.
Favorite Harry Styles song?
Fine Line. That one is a no. That's a no questions one.
Perfect. Place you feel most like yourself?
Ooh. And unfortunately no longer live by the ocean, but on the beach on the ocean, feet in the sand.
Okay, last one. This is funny, to me at least. Major difference in dating men versus women.
Emotional intelligence. I think it's possible, like to be clear, I think it's possible for, like, and I think so much of how, let's go back to the patriarchy, so much of how we're socialized, and especially for men, is that the world isn't set up for them to build that emotional intelligence, and so I want to make that clear. And also that's something that just like, from the beginning of my current relationship, have seen that difference, and I think that also just, yeah. I think also, like, I mean,
Love Emma.
we do. But I think that's, yeah, the emotional intelligence piece, like, and being in therapy and being with someone who is in therapy, that's just, it's so big. Everybody should go to therapy, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a therapist.
I love therapy. It'll ruin your life, but it'll make it better. I loved this. Thank you. But I want to open up. Does anyone want to ask a question? Thoughts? Just talk? I don't know. Enough of our voices? You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to. Do you want the mic? I'll make it official.
Yeah. So you touched on this a little bit earlier, but there are kind of two schools of thought. One is that you have to fully be healed in order to be healthy and present in a relationship as an adult. And then there's this other school of thought that you have to find someone who fills in the holes within you. And I think the truth kind of lies maybe in the middle there. Like you can heal in a relationship, but you have to be with somebody who's also doing the work. It's been my experience, and I'm wondering, kind of what your thought is, because I feel like within romance novels, they've changed so much over the years. Because I've been reading for a few years now, y'all. And they've changed a lot. It used to be that he saved her or she saved him, and it was kind of like no real growth. It's just she fixed him or he fixed her, and then they wrote off into the sunset. And I feel like novels today are more authentic and more kind of gritty, and I like that a lot. But I still kind of see sometimes this idealized version that they have to like be perfect people before they can actually get there happily ever after. So where do you land on that? And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love that, and I very much agree that it is in the middle, that it's so much gray, and I think, like, no one's going to save you. You have to save yourself, and people can help you in the journey, but there is and I can't remember the exact line, but there is a line that Emmeline says in Ever Since New York that's about, like, people can help you in the process, but you need to save yourself. You need to start this. No one can do this fight for you. They can help you in the fight, but they can't make you do it. They can't do this. And I think it's also something that the importance of doing your own work, especially like being in therapy, is that you can heal together, but your partner can't be everything for you. They're not going to the piece you said with like filling the holes. Like that's just not like how humans work, that we're always going to have these different like relationships can serve different purposes, whether it's with your friends, your family, found family, partners, and I think I agree that while there, of course, like romance books are shifting to having that more reality piece, I think it is just something that it's about being able to help each other, and also knowing sometimes that like all you can do to help someone is just be there. That sometimes there isn't something you can do to change something for someone, and it's not that you have to fix how they're feeling. It's just being like sitting in the difficult shit together. And so I agree that I think like it doesn't have to be idealized there, and I think it often is. And I think again, like while people can love this thing being an escape and being idealized, I think that's where we also can like make it harder for ourselves. Because if we're seeing, oh, this perfect thing and someone finding their perfect match and missing piece and all that, that's going to make it where we feel let down in ourselves, or, oh, what am I doing wrong because I can't find this thing. And just knowing like, sure, you can help fill gaps for each other, and I think it's great when there are pieces that kind of complement each other in a relationship of like balancing each other out, and also at the same time, like no one else is gonna come save you.
Great question. Anyone else? Thoughts, questions, concerns?
What can you tell us about book number 2?
Yeah.
Yes.
Emma with the plug.
Yes. So it's called It's called Temporary Fix, which for anyone who isn't a One Direction fan, that's the title of a One Direction song. And it is
Like
about...
you like Harry Styles or anything.
Not at all. Totally not at all. It focuses on two side characters who are in Ever Since New York. Kenzie, who is the front of house engineer, which for anyone who doesn't know the little details of the music industry, that's the person who's responsible for what the audience hears. And then Isabel, who's the keys player. And it's very much like Black Cat Golden Retriever, where Isabel has a lot of family trauma and is very closed off, kind of ice queen as a result. And Kenzie has done a lot of her own work. And also there's like, it's not a true like age gap, but like Isabel is like 22 and Kenzie is 29 and having that bit of difference. But it's friends with benefits to lovers, well, coworkers, friends with benefits to lovers, and so very different there. Also, being two women is different. Kieran and Emmeline, they're both bi, but obviously in a hetero presenting relationship. So having that, and I really love that it happens in more or less the same timeline as Ever Since New York. So there are pieces you get to see of things that do exist in Ever Since New York, but you don't see on the page, like different cities and things like that. And also, there are a few scenes that are in Ever Since New York, and you get to see the perspective. Like for example, because this doesn't give away too much, it opens when Emmeline is realizing that Kieran likes her, and well, not just likes, loves her, and her realizing that in real time, and you get to see more of like that scene extended, and also getting to see the perspective of someone else, especially someone who's like, really, like you're just realizing this, like everybody knows this. And so it was really fun getting to kind of take those moments and just have really loved writing that. I'm excited to see where it continues to develop, because there are parts of it where I'm like, oh my god, I love that, and then parts of it where I'm like, girl, you're gonna need to, there's some deep help that is needed in the process.
Oh man, I love it. I can't wait to read. Do we have a tentative release date?
Yeah, it releases September 1st. So
Everyone mark your calendar.
yeah, right before Labor Day, which is great that people can
read on the beach?
Yes.
Your favorite place?
Yes. And so I'm super excited about that for sure. And also have a total of 5 books planned in the series, because I never thought it was going to be a series. Also didn't know if I was ever going to like publish Ever Since New York when I started writing it, but different ones started writing themselves in my head as I went, and then also there were times where people read and they're like, oh my god, I love this character, are they getting their own book? And I was like, well, I wasn't planning on it, but you're right.
Yeah.
So it's been really fun with that, and just getting to, I think, just getting to have different tropes, and also just getting to show different pieces and perspectives there. I am.
The question was, are you going to do a playlist?
Yes, definitely. Still figuring out all of it. I have a few, like there were like a few chapters as I was writing them, I'm like, okay, this is the song. And also, I mean, in general, it's amazing for the 1D fangirls that like everybody, all the boys are putting out new music this year, but I'm like, amazing. I'm going to have so much, like in particular, well, like,
of songs.
oh yeah, well, especially Harry's new song, Aperture, which is just in my head all the time. I'm like, yes. I'm like, there, I can already see it. Oh yeah, no, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. Okay, you're wonderful. This was wonderful. If anyone wants to chat more, please do. But Colleen has a stand. She's selling her books, so please go by, and then also signing them. So she'll be inside to chat more. But thank you all.
Thank you.